Pat Welter, we have Panthers playoff football for the first time since January 2018.
You like that? Kirk Cousins, baby. Or maybe it's more just the Falcons' defense or the ineptitude of the Saints. Whatever you want to talk about, we will take it because we have playoff football here in the state of North Carolina, and WRAL is all in.
I'm Mark Bergin. He's Pat Welter. Welcome into WRAL Triangle and 2. A little bit of a different camera setup, so let us know in the comments if you like it. Like and subscribe to the WRAL YouTube page. 5 stars only on Apple and Spotify for the WRAL Triangle and 2 feed. Pat, here's where I want to start today's conversation, and it is this. Bryce Young's very first playoff start. What I wanted to ask you, though, do you think the outcome of this game matters in terms of whether or not the Panthers pick up his fifth-year option for the 2027 season? That is a decision that they would need to make by early May of next year, or of this year, of 2026.
Oh, it has to, right? Because your quarterback has to be one of, if not your best player in your biggest games. And in a lot of ways, the Panthers this season are winning. It's complicated.
You hesitated,
because
Pat.
He's clutch in big moments. Mm-hmm. He has all these game-winning drives, some of the most in the NFL since he entered the NFL. But then there's also large stretches of games when he is completely ineffective, due in part to his size, due in part to his arm strength, and due in part to, I think, his pre-snap ability to read and his needs to improvise to be able to get sight lines or get a more clear view. You know, it's something that's worked for him his entire life. So I think that's a really tough decision for the Panthers going forward because he got them at least to competency, which where this team has been post Cam Newton was a massive accomplishment. But as far as taking this team to the next step and going to the playoffs again, like this team has a losing record and they're in the playoffs. Like the odds that they're in the playoffs again next year is not a guarantee, especially if Bryce Young is at the helm.
It's a weak division. It's the weakest division, in my opinion, in all of the NFL. Here's where I'm at, though, because he projects $26.5 million if they pick up that fifth-year option for 2027. Here's where I'm at. You could pick up that fifth-year option, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's your quarterback of the future. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's just the cost of doing business for just your average quarterback in the NFL. Outside if a quarterback is on his rookie deal, look across the league of other starters, what they make, what their salaries are. To me, that's the cost of doing business if you have a quarterback who is even average, let alone good to great to elite. And so that $26 million, I mean, short of just absolutely laying an egg in this game. And I don't want to put too much into one game, but Pat, to your point about the losing record, the 8-9 record going into this one. The Panthers have also lost 3 of their last 4 games going into this one. They lost the regular season finale, and here we are. They're still in the playoffs. To me, it's like, can you point to the Panthers doing well and the Panthers getting in, or for the fact of, like, someone had to win the division?
100%. I think you got to give Dave Canales, the whole organization, Bryce Young included, a lot of credit for just getting to this point. I mean, we look at where they were after David Tepper and all the experiments they've gone through since, from the failed quarterbacks that maybe could have been successful quarterbacks. When you think about Teddy Bridgewater, probably wasn't appreciated. Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, never really fully had a chance. And then the drafting and the trading up to get Bryce Young and all the assets they lost in that deal. And yet here they are, here by, in Dave Canales' words, what's a win today? Eventually, you have to stop doubling down, and as they were basically on with these trades for different quarterbacks and trading up in the draft and bringing in different quarterbacks, bringing in different coaches. Eventually, you just have to start doing the work, and that's what they did when they brought in, or when they promoted Dan Morgan. They bring in Dave Canales. There's alignment there. They draft Bryce Young. Now, Dave Canales was not on the staff when they drafted Bryce Young, and that's maybe where we are here, where there's maybe a slight disconnect in what each wants to do. But I look at it like, who's really going to want to sign up for Bryce Young? Like, if you have a choice, Bryce Young's not a quarterback that you seek out as a coach. A, he's too small. B, he does a lot of his best work, within the play, maybe not within the design of the play. Like, a lot of his best work is improvised. It's just who he is. It's who he's always been. So I don't know what coach is looking at Bryce Young. It's like, yeah, sign me up for that. But I think if there's a real win here, I think if I'm picking a guy going forward, it's Dave Canales. Because this guy, sure, is he a perfect coach? No, but we're seeing him get better on the fly in real time. Like, this was a guy that spent a ton of time in the Seattle organization under Pete Carroll, but prior to coming to Carolina, had only been an offensive coordinator for 1 year. But we now have the track record of what he did with Geno Smith in Seattle, what he did with Baker Mayfield in Tampa, and how I think he's gotten the best, if you will, out of Bryce Young. He salvaged Bryce Young. Because if you remember, this thing was done. This thing was over last year. He was benched.
Yeah, he got benched. I go to was after the loss to the Saints in December, and I'm trying to find the story that I wrote up for WRAL.com, but it was the play where the Saints rookie player had an unnecessary roughness penalty at the very end, and it cost the Panthers very valuable field position. But there was a play in that game where it was either a 3rd and short or 4th and short scenario. And a reporter asked, why don't you use the tush push, which has been so effective for so many teams across the league? And Canales even admitted, given the challenges that you have with Bryce Young and his size limitations, it is not a schematic advantage for the Panthers to try to use him in a tush push, let alone because of his slight frame, if he were to get injured on a play like that.
Yeah.
So it's one element that other NFL teams do with much bigger players, much bigger quarterbacks. Some teams will bring in another player instead of the quarterback to be able to do that.
I think the Panthers have started doing that with the tight end.
Exactly. But that's something that Young can't do given his size limitations. And Canales even says that in a press conference to reporters asking, hey, why isn't this something that you could do in a short yardage situation where it's a game of inches? A lot of these games come down to the margins, especially at the NFL level.
And look, I can roast Bryce Young if I want to. We can lament all the things that they don't have, and we will do that. But I do think right now in this moment, Panthers fans should try to maybe block all that out. Like, it's natural to want to wonder, okay, are we going to bring in the fifth? Are we going to do the 5th-year option? Are we going to sign this guy to an extension? Which I certainly wouldn't champion.
I would do the 5th-year option before we even entertain that conversation, unless he wanted a super cheap discount, like a very, very team-friendly deal, Pat.
Or maybe even skip the 5th-year option, make him prove it next year, and then franchise tag him. Because, 2 years down the road, are you really want to go through this? But I guess the point I was trying to say is, do we have to break our brains about that right now, or can we all just enjoy this because it's been so long since the Panthers and their fans have had anything to celebrate before we just kind of start flushing it down the drain?
I'm with you, and I don't want to take too much from one game, but once you get into the tournament, the postseason, the playoffs, everyone's record is the same. It's 0-0, and so it's like, what can you do right now? You've been to a lot of these games, Pat, boots on the ground. You were down in Tampa this last weekend for the regular season finale. What have you seen from Young when you've attended these games, and what's the conversation been like among other reporters that you've brushed elbows with?
I was talking to a reporter the other night. I came out with that take that I would support Canales, and they viewed it the opposite way. And I think that's kind of like the debate out there. Some people are Camp Canales, other people are Camp Young. I'm pretty strong in Camp Canales here on this. But I think what you do see from Bryce Young and from Canales together is their optimism has helped this organization change its brand, change its mantra, change its culture. And in that regard, there is a cohesiveness between the two of them. Their outlook is relentlessly positive. And I think Bryce Young's unique ability to compartmentalize, he's also strong in his faith. Like, all these things, I think, helped him through what would have broken a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, the way he came into the league and looked not only like he shouldn't have been the number 1 overall pick, but like he shouldn't have been drafted, period, or even play in the NFL.
I wouldn't go that far, but that's to your point about Canales, where coaching matters, where when you see young quarterbacks struggle in the NFL, I point to, well, how many coaches has that quarterback had? And even if there is stability, say, at the head coaching position where, let's try to fix the flesh wound with the Band-Aid and bring in another OC and another coach. And certainly he had that early on to where even if it is just the 2026 season, looking beyond this game with Bryce Young, at least you can point to some continuity here that he's had with Canales. And I would say this, too, in Canales' favor, too. We stream a lot of his media availabilities. I look at other coaches in other markets where I've covered in my career where it's like he doesn't have a clue or he's lost the locker room, this, that, or the other. There's never been a media availability with Canales where it's like, oh, he's out of his depth, he's out of his waters, or he doesn't know what he's talking about, or he doesn't grasp the situation or the moment. I've never felt that way about him from the moment he was hired. He's still really young as a head coach as well. So I'm with you with the optimism that they bring in terms of trying to fix a franchise where you had Rule and you had Frank Reich last not even a year. This has really been a mess post Cam Newton. Like if we want to get it to its simplest form, that's what this is the Panthers have been trying to get things right after the Super Bowl run nearly a decade ago with Cam Newton. It's like they haven't found their quarterback who's even close to that same level.
That's what makes this moment so difficult. I mean, you host the Steelers podcast. I'm a Steelers fan growing up. Post Ben Roethlisberger, they've been toiling in this mediocrity. And, lo and behold, here the Steelers are in the playoffs again. But how many quarterbacks have they gone through, and how frustrated is that fan base? And they are where the Panthers are now, which is that kind of 7 to 10 window with replacement level quarterbacks. So you fight so hard. The Panthers have clawed so hard to get to that point. And so I think that's where you just enjoy this moment as a Panthers fan. But to all those other things we're talking about, what is next is looming in the background. Because most likely, this is a one-and-done situation for the Carolina Panthers.
They're 10-point underdogs, so I'm not trying to, if you think we're too gloom and doom here, where it's like, look, the reality of the situation is they're 10-point underdogs. I posted a story just earlier this week, Pat, about teams that have 500 or sub-500 records and their track record of success or lack thereof in the playoffs. 1-1. Like there has not been a team with a 500 or sub-500 record that has even made a conference championship game.
Then there's the point differential, right? They're negative, 68 in point differential. I mean, nothing is really pointing in their favor other than the fact that everyone's against them and that this could be a Seattle Seahawks situation, beast mode, which Dave Canales was on that staff for when they knock off the defending champs, the New Orleans Saints, in Seattle. So it can happen. But that doesn't mean that you're like, okay, we've got our team going forward, we're good.
Yeah, but that beast quake, which
is that what we're calling it now?
It landed at, is it the Richter scale or the seismic scale? I mean, it was a 2.0 on whatever scale that is of the cheer. 9 broken tackles. The Seahawks missed the playoffs the following year, but then that launched the Legion of Boom era for Seattle. So even just getting this playoff experience so young is so valuable for Bryce Young. And at least in year 3, you can point to, okay, he'll have this opportunity to go up against a really, really talented Rams team that some think are the favorites in the NFC.
And they've already beaten them once.
Exactly. Yes.
And it was a close game. Now, it was also a game where Matthew Stafford and the Rams turned the ball over 3 times. There was a pick 6. And Bryce Young played, I would say probably the Falcons game was his best game of the season, where he had, over like 400 yards. It was just one of those games that just kind of goes drunk. Just one of those games that there's
448 yards in the 30-27 overtime win, 3 touchdowns through the air for Young in that game too. So it's like, he's throwing it all over the yard.
That was an outlier. The Rams game's more within Bryce's parameters, where I think he was 15-20, just over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, the big clutch touchdown, I think in the fourth quarter to Teddy McMillan. Like, one thing that Bryce is great at is biding his time, waiting for his moment, managing the game, not trying to win it on the first drive. Like, even in the Bucs game in Tampa, he did not play well. They were not running the ball, but he didn't lose them the game either. Like, they were in it until the end, and a lot of that is to the defense's credit. So it is possible that they win this game. Like, of all the matchups that they could have gotten, the Rams one gives you some confidence, at least, that there's possibility that they can move the football.
So you mentioned the running game, and I look at, okay, how do you establish that against a talented Rams defense? Right guard Rob Hunt, a Pro Bowler, mind you, working his way back. He's been on IR since week 3, and there's the possibility he plays. So if he plays, you get the two-headed monster in the backfield rolling to where the quarterback's best friend a lot of times is the running back position. So it's like if you can establish the line of scrimmage, control the clock, you mentioned the takeaways, to me that would be the recipe. That would be how I would try to approach this game in terms of trying to beat the Rams in this wild card matchup.
Yeah, because as much as exciting as it is that the Panthers got into the playoffs, they have not been really a playoff team since that Rams game. Like that Rams game is what got everybody excited, that made everybody believe that Bryce Young could be a franchise quarterback. You know, it's like up and down, up and down, up and down with him every week. You're like, way out, way out. Wait, I'm back in, and I put myself included. But since then, they're 1-3, and the running game has completely fallen off a cliff. That Rico Dowdle moment in the middle of the season, I'm not entirely sure what happened, if it was a perfect moment of sync with the offensive line, if it was a perfect moment of sync in his vision and his health. Like at one point, he kind of banged up his leg injury. He's dealing with a toe injury now. I don't think he's been 100% since. And what did they rush for at Tampa? Like 30 yards? I mean, they cannot do that and think they're going to have a chance to win this game. They were up around over 150 yards the first matchup with the Rams. And so much of Bryce and his limitations is you can't put the guy in obvious passing down situations. So when they're not running the ball and their defense isn't generating turnovers, they are in danger of getting blown out.
We could criticize Bryce Young, 19 yards rushing against the Bucs. How are you supposed to win a football game? You have 19 yards rushing. So Tampa knows exactly what the Panthers are going to do play after play after play after play. I tell you what, though, too, Pat. Something the Panthers got right. We mentioned Dan Morgan's contributions to this franchise. T-Mac, man, at the receiver position. I mean, he's just going to get better and better. He's only a rookie. I mean, at this point, he's almost not a rookie because, we're into the playoffs now, but I mean, I think he'll win Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's been outstanding for this team.
Yeah, and he's a cornerstone. And if you look at what they do have, there's a reason to be excited going forward, is the quarterback position a big thing to solve? And I don't really know if we can find an answer. Yes, but look at the positions they have locked up. J.C. Horn, cornerback, Pro Bowler. Derek Brown, defensive line, should have been a Pro Bowler, one of the best in all of the NFL. Tedero McMillan. These are cornerstone positions. Probably the only thing missing there is an edge rusher and the quarterback. But they've locked up 3 of the most important positions in football, and that's huge going forward.
One of my questions in my notes here for full transparency for listeners and viewers here on WRAL Triangle and 2. Biggest X factor, and I wrote Derek Brown down. And the reason I did that was we saw what this Panthers team looks like when he has not been healthy in previous seasons. And then to where he's been healthy and the difference that makes, your defense starts from the ground up. Mm-hmm. Point of attack, A gap, B gap. Everything else revolves around that. So him playing at a high level in the trenches, to me, that's going to be huge because Stafford's likely your league MVP. Davante Adams is coming back from a hamstring injury. We know what Puka Nacua can do. They have a nice little running game as well, the Rams do. So it's like, to me, keep them off the field for as long as possible to where your offense is almost your best defense. But Derek Brown and what he does against the interior of this Rams offensive line, to me, that's the matchup where it's like, if you want to talk the X's and O's of the game, that's going to be the biggest X factor, in my opinion.
Derek Brown and just getting J.C. Horn back for this game. Like, he's played the last few games, but the previous Rams game, he was not in that. It's Mike Jackson who gets the pick 6. They're also getting Christian Roseboom, who's probably one of their best linebackers who didn't play that previous game. So all the talk about Bryce Young, really, it's going to be the defense and the run game that wins this game, and Bryce Young making a few key throws, which are the throws he didn't make versus Seattle, the throws he didn't make, or at least the refs took away against the Tampa Bay Bucks. So it's a simple formula. Like, they know what they're gonna have to do. They know who they are. It's a matter of if they can execute it and which Rams team we see come in here. Like, was them going 1-2 down the stretch a red flag, or was that them just kind of tuning up for the playoffs? I don't really know the answer, but they haven't really looked like the Super Bowl champion, NFL MVP, quarterback-led team that they were billed to be, really since the Panthers have beaten them.
Good point about the Rams. They did finish the season with the win over the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals didn't have a great year either.
No, they did not.
Pat, what am I missing here before we wrap?
Tampa food.
All right, so full disclosure, Pat was down in Tampa, Florida, Ybor City. You got to see some of the chickens I saw as well.
Just roosters running wild. And I don't. Did you catch the history of why there are roosters in Ybor City?
You know, it has to go into my Google machine to figure that out. But if you have that answer, please lay it on us, Pat.
I know some of the other history of it. I mean, it's a historic neighborhood in the city of Tampa. It's a little bit like Bourbon Street if you've never been there. Just kind of subtract some of the drunkenness and add a little bit of, I don't know.
Pirate revelry, we'll call it.
Yeah, pirate revelry and also Cuban history,
yep.
hand-rolled cigars. It's a neighborhood where they had cigar factories, and it's just a really cool place to hang out. Tampa is, I think, maybe the most underrated city on the country. It's on the water. It's on the bay. St. Pete and Clearwater are basically on the beach. And it has all this really cool culture and unique things. And I would say the best Cuban sandwich in the United States. People say Miami. I go to Tampa. I love the Tampa Cuban sandwich.
You and I have spent parts of our careers in that market. And I know you went to the Columbia restaurant as well. Cuban sandwich there is phenomenal. They have like the best salad I've ever had in my life. I forget. It's like the 14. It's a number combination. It's just the food is terrific there. Richard Gansmart, one of the oldest restaurateurs, the owner of the Columbia restaurant. I'm very jealous you were down there this time of year. I was hoping maybe you'd come back with the Panthers victory, but that, you can't control that. But it looked like both you and Chris Lee had a remarkable time down there, but also just really honing in on what the Panthers look at as they were trying to make a postseason push. And then we go into the Sunday where it's like reliant on the Saints and Falcons to figure out whether the Panthers are going to make the playoffs. But, man, I spent a lot of time in Tampa. It's wonderful. It's a great place.
It was an excellent trip all around. The work was good. The fun was good. The rain was not. And that's one thing we haven't touched on is that there's some potential, I don't know, thunderstorms or something in the forecast for Saturday in Charlotte. I got absolutely torrentially downpoured on in Tampa. And as a guy who lived and worked in Florida, I should have known better.
Yes, but usually not this time of year.
Right.
It's like I could understand it in the summer. It downpours, rains for an hour every single day in the summer. Usually this time of year you're okay, but yes, Pat, bring your rain gear just in case you need it for not just yourself but your equipment too. I mean, it was coming down when the Panthers and Bucks were playing in the finale.
The whole first half was rain. And it wasn't torrential the whole time, but it was consistent. It was steady. It definitely impacted the field. So we'll see. Check that weather forecast Saturday in Charlotte. I don't know which team it necessarily favors. Probably the home team, right? Like it's easier, the snap count. You're at home. You get the crowd behind you. Panthers want to run the ball. Stafford's a great thrower. I mean, Stafford, the way that guy can spin the football, I don't know if a little rain hurts him. But this is a guy that played most of his career indoors in Detroit and is now playing in sunny L.A.
Stafford can throw the ball through a car wash and it won't get wet.
Yeah, the dude spins it maybe the best I've ever seen. The way he can generate torque. Michael Vick had that too, kind of like this whip action arm with the perfect wrist release. I mean, it's a gorgeous thing to watch.
It's that and his ability to manipulate defenses where he can throw no-look passes or move safeties around with his eyes, something to keep an eye on when we watch this game on Saturday. He's the one and only Pat Welter. I'm Mark Bergin. Again, if you're watching here on the WRAL YouTube page, please hit that like and subscribe button. Let us know what you think in the comments, if we're full of it, if you like some of our analysis. What are you looking forward to watching the game? What are your predictions as well? Let us know down in the comments on YouTube. Apple and Spotify, 5 stars and 5 stars only. Pat, as always, a pleasure.
It's lunchtime. Time for another Cuban sandwich.
So long, everybody.